What's going on everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be talking about the best 5 performance modifications that you can do to any car and make its performance better overall. My idea of a performance modification is something that makes the car quicker, handle better, and quicker could be in relation to acceleration most likely, possibly top speed, make it brake quicker, short stopping distances, anything that will make its performance better. Not necessarily things like miles per gallon and stuff like that. I mean, if you're searching this kind of video, I'm guessing you're not really bothered about miles per gallon. But one thing on the list might help miles per gallon, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So these are, in my opinion, in the correct order, from 1, the very first thing that I do, to number 5, the thing that I would probably do last. And this might upset a few people when I say that this would be the thing that I do last. But to give you an idea, I'm not a straight line floor it kind of guy. I'm a handling kind of guy. But that's not to say that these modifications wouldn't help you in straight line outright acceleration or top speed and things like that. On that particular note, number 1 for me, the very first thing that I would replace on a car, just because it's been proven time and time again to be the best modification for a car, and that is tyres. Now, that is the only thing that connects you to the ground, the one and only. It's the only thing that will get you off the line quicker. It's the only thing that will hold you on the road when you go around a corner in a spirited fashion, shall we say. And it's the only thing that will stop you in an event where you need to do an emergency stop, or where you need to reduce your stopping distance, your deceleration zone if you like, on a track day. And it's the very first thing as well, in my experience, that will go off on a track day, in any kind of spirited driving. It's the first thing that you'll find a fault with. The tyres will be too hard and you won't get any grip from them from the get-go, or they'll just crumble away, or you'll have tyres that are just not made for sports driving, and they'll start falling off. The grip will rapidly decrease after 3, maybe 4 laps, 5 if you're lucky, unless you've got something that's track orientated and gives you that additional grip as the tyre heats up, that sort of stuff. And there is a fine balance between something that you'd want on a road car and on your weekend warrior sort of track car. My personal preference of things I've tried is the 8008R. The 8008R is a good all-rounder, really good sort of wet ratings, and I personally haven't had a single problem with them in the wet, even here in England. So the 8008R is my personal go-to, although we haven't had the RE11 over here and Bridgestone's top tier offering, which I'd really like to try. Number 2 then, and this again in my experience is the second thing that will deteriorate rapidly at a track day. I remember when we were driving my old man's on the Prelude around a track, we tried both the original Mintex pads, if you like, the options to the original equipment, so pretty much a direct representation of what Mintex offer you as a direct replacement pad, and it fell off after 5 laps. I was surprised actually that we got 5 laps out of it, and it was incredibly consistent for 5 laps. Couple of cool down laps, it went again for another 5. Really good brake pad, to be fair, for a standard OEM kind of style pad. But then we went to the MB 1144 pads, and it was just night and day. We couldn't get those pads to fall off on the kind of track that we were on. There was quite a lot of straights and ample opportunities of long, a long winding right-hander as well, that you didn't necessarily use the brakes very often throughout a lap, if you like. There was one big brake zone from a very high speed, but apart from that, it was pretty easy on the brakes, so we didn't get the brakes to fall off at all with the 1144 pads, which is Mintex equivalent, if you like, to like the Frodo DS 2500, the Hawk HP Plus, all these other sort of road going pads, the PBS race pads and things like that. All these other race pads, this is like Mintex's equivalent to, and it is the first thing that will fall off on a track day. Again, it's the only thing that will stop you. There's no other mechanisms other than your brake pads or your brake shoes in the rear drums, if you've got rear drums, that's going to actually physically stop you. So it's very good replacement part as a maintenance item, just like your tyres, and it's a brilliant option for a track day. In my opinion, it's the second thing that I would do after tyres to get better lap times and to be able to knock out consistent laps over a prolonged duration of time. They just work so well, the performance orientated pads. So number 3 then, and this is something that would help everything, not just your acceleration, cornering, braking, not just those things, but also MPG, and that's weight reduction. And they say that you need about a 7% increase in power or a 7% reduction in weight to be able to physically feel it in the car yourself. But from my experience, weight reduction is just the best modification for any car. Doesn't matter what it is. It's obviously the best bang for your buck because it's free to rip stuff out of your car, although it's not always recommended. You have to find that nice balance for you as an individual. Me personally is probably a bit further than what other people would go, but then likewise I wouldn't go as far as somebody who's ripping the car out just to use at track days, full stop. You know, I wouldn't go that far because I need my car to use on a daily basis. But weight reduction is by far, in my opinion, you know, the best free modification, if you like, for performance gains. And I love it. I love it to bits. That's the third thing that I do as an actual modification, if you like, an actual physical, visual change, audible change in some instances where your car just turns into a rattle box. I've been there. You know, I've stripped an entire car out before and then ended up putting it all back in when I've thought, oh no, it's too noisy, I can't live with it. But yeah, weight reduction is definitely number 3 on my list as far as a performance modification. And if you can rip up to 7% out, it's as good as a 7%, you know, power increase, which on a 200 horsepower car, quick maths, is 14 horsepower. You know, so if you've got a 200 horsepower car and you're doing, let's say, an exhaust and an intake, you might net 10 horsepower if you're lucky without a map. Weight reduction of 7%, you know, minus 7% of the vehicle's weight is just as much as gaining 14 horsepower. But you also see the benefit in braking, in cornering, and make the car more agile, you know, just make it better all around. So that's number 3. Number 4 then has sort of a I'd say a bit of a counter to weight reduction. Not that I'm adding more weight, but what weight reduction will do is raise your car and therefore raise the car's centre of gravity. Then the next one is lower your car via either coilovers or lowering springs. Now, in my opinion, coilovers are by far better. You don't have to pay much more for a very good set of coilovers in comparison to crap ones. You know, you might pay 200 quid for a really cheap set of coilovers that'll last you a month if you're lucky. Ask me how I know, or should I say ask Jay did this, how he knows. But we ripped them off with some BC Racing coilovers. I personally have run BC Racing coilovers on the EG Civic. Couldn't recommend them enough, they've lasted years and years. I bought BC Racing coilovers off the back of their progression, if you like, in time attack here in the UK. Way back when, in like 2012, I remember reading magazines and every top performing car in time attack ran BC Racing coilovers. So I went for BC Racing coilovers, lasted me about 6 years, never looked back. You know, so coilovers, not only will it reduce the centre of gravity of your car by lowering it slightly, it also will stiffen up the suspension, even lowering springs, stiffen up the spring rates, which give the car more stability. Gives you as a driver as well more confidence in the car because you're able to throw it around more. You know that the car will feel more confidence inspiring. It'll hold the road better. You know, you won't be finding yourself sort of drifting about and sort of wallowing about, if you like, on the road or in quick direction changes. You won't feel it in the car body roll as much because the suspension spring rates will be there, the reduced centre of gravity. It'll help as well with body roll and things like that. So 4th one on the list, springs, every time. Either just springs by themselves or coilovers if you've got the extra dosh, but definitely one of those 5 things that were just one of the best performance modifications as per the rest of the list. And then number 5, mainly on turbo cars, and as soon as I've said that, if you know your stuff, you probably already know what I'm going to say, and that's a remap or an ECU tune or whatever it is, however it is that you want to word it in your particular country. A flash, an ECU map, a tune, whatever you want to call it. That will net you, if you have bolt-ons like an air intake and exhaust and stuff like that, or if you just do the straight remap, that will net you usually 10 to up to 30% I've seen on performance increase. Now you've got to do your research. You know, some maps aren't as safe as others, some companies aren't as recommended, shall we say, as others, but the performance increase that you can get from just a simple remap of a car, which takes sometimes minutes if it's a flash, costs very little for the amount of performance that you can gain. Anything from a few £100 up to £1,000 if you're looking at, you know, a full rolling road sort of tune, and the sky's the limit to sort of, you know, really honing in on the extra 1 or 2 horsepower and smoothing out the power curve and stuff like that for a detailed tune. But from a few £100 you can get a brilliant and amazing, you know, results from an ECU flash, from a quick tune, and it's well worth the book, if you like. It's, you know, these are definitely the performance for your pound sort of mods. In my opinion, you know, these are the best 5 performance modifications that you can do to your car, and I would dare say a car that's been lowered, had a bit of weight reduction done, coilovers and a remap, you'd hold quite well with a lot of things on track, especially with brakes, tyres, coilovers, because the majority of time to be found on a track is in the corners and in the braking zones, and the remap will just help you, you know, get off the line quicker, and continue throughout the gears, if you like. But yeah, I dare say these 5 modifications are certainly my pick. I don't know what you would choose. Let me know below if you think I've missed anything out, or if you completely agree, or if you've tried any 5, you know, any one of these 5 or multiples of these 5, and let me know your experience below. But these are certainly my picks for the best 5 modifications. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got some value out of this particular video. If you did, and if you want to try and educate somebody on what they should do with the car, then please share this video with them as well. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.